All right, let's dive into connectedness. I love this strength. Connectedness is one of my all-time favorites. It's actually my number 12. It's not even in my top 10, but I still love it. It could be my number one. I couldn't love it anymore. I love the connectedness strength. For my wife, Kim, it happens to be her number 6, which means it's one of the bookends around our heart strength. And if you're familiar with our coaching, you know how valuable that position is in your strengths DNA. So let's get a little bit of background going here about connectedness. Connectedness is part of the relationship building domain. And I think it really kind of epitomizes the relationship building domain. It's one of the more powerful ones in that domain, in that it really represents, what relationship building is all about, being connected. But it's not just about relationships with other people. Connectedness is also about connecting with the world, connecting with your environment, and understanding that there are no coincidences. So everything happens for a reason. That would kind of be the mantra of a person with connectedness high in their DNA. They're going to believe that everything happens for a reason. And if everything happens for a reason, then odds are nothing really is bad or good. It's just part of the process. It's part of the journey. It's part of the grand master plan, whatever that may be. So the people with high connectedness get their energy. They get that joy from taking the journey. They get that joy even when things don't go the way they want to, even when something bad happens, somebody gets sick, somebody loses a job, a death in the family, any of these things. A high connectedness person will be able to say to themselves, you know what, I'm going to get through this. I've gotten through worse than this before, and I know that in time, it will be revealed why this needed to happen. This is a necessary step on my journey. And as such, they value it. They value everything. So if we can assign value to everything, that is, again, showing that there are no really bad things that happen. It's just the process that we're here to go through. So that is very much what the connectedness person thinks. So the other thing, there's a couple other things that I love about the connectedness strength. One is that of all the people that Kim and I have coached in their strengths, excuse me, about 2/3 of them have connectedness high in their DNA. So about 2/3 have it actually in their top 10. So this is a very common strength that we talk about a lot. And the people that we coach, they love to talk about this particular strength. They really value it. It doesn't matter really where it is, whether it's number 1 or it's number 10, or even for those few people who don't have it high, they really like to talk about this because I think in a lot of ways, it's a very spiritual strength. Again, if we're all part of a master plan, if things are going in a way that we know we're always going to get through it because we always do, even if we don't, we can't prove it. We can't prove that everything's going to be okay, but we just intuitively know it. That is that connectedness. And because of that, it's also somewhat of an optimistic strength. So it's just got so much going for it. It can be very spiritual. It can be very optimistic, very uplifting. And these are just a few of the qualities I love about connectedness. So a lot of great stuff here on the sacred side. So let's talk about what happens. Can connectedness, such a wonderful strength like this, can it in fact go sinister? And the answer is yes, of course it can. And let me explain to you how this can happen. So, a person, again, with high connectedness believes that things are going to turn out. They believe that there's a master plan. They believe that everything happens for a reason. And they do not necessarily need to prove that. It's just a mindset they have. It's what gives them energy. It's what gives them joy to think that way and to experience life that way. So, what happens when they are in a situation where they have to work with someone who does not have high connectedness? And let's say, for example, maybe the other person has high analytical. Now, if you've watched my analytical video, you know that analytical people with high analytical strength, need proof. They're all about the data. Okay, you drop an apple and it falls to the ground because of gravity. Yeah, prove it. That's the way the earth is round, not flat. Oh yeah, prove it. It doesn't matter what it is. Simple concepts, complex concepts. If you want to tell me that this is the greatest thing on the world, you've got the best product, you've got the best service, whatever, you know what? You're going to have to prove it. So you can see where this kind of a conflict can arise between the connectedness person and the analytical person. They're not going to connect real well. So what happens sometimes when the connected strengths goes sinister is that the connected person starts to feel like they have to try to prove something. They have to try and prove it to that analytical person or to other people who don't see the connectedness. They have to start creating in their own little pieces of evidence and things like this. And as soon as they do that, what's going on? They're actually getting pulled out of what gives them joy, what gives them their energy. They're actually pulling out of their connectedness, their concept that everything is connected, everything is related, everything happens for a reason. There are no coincidences. Suddenly now they're put in a position where they're down in their bottom strengths, they're down in their shadow strengths, trying to figure out a way to prove it to this person who does not have high connectedness. So you can see how this can go south very quickly. And then suddenly that connectedness person, if they go this route, they start trying to prove things to the people who are skeptical. They're going to be miserable. They're going to be drained. It is going to suck the life force right out of them. And it's just you're just going to see them get deflated. They're just going to lose it. They're going to lose all the energy, all that vibrancy that they have will be gone. So how do we keep that from happening? If you have high connectedness and you're working with people or you live with people, maybe you even have a spouse or you have children or you have parents who have high analytical or they don't see the connectedness that you see. You can do certain things. You can mention to them things like, if they're going through a rough time, you can say something to the effect of, hey, you know what? I bet you've gone through rough times before, and I bet things have turned out okay. Can you think of an example of that? Can you think of a time where you thought when you were going through whatever it was you were going through, you thought it was going to be the end of the world, but then later on you realized, hey, it was only temporary. And these are things that the connectedness person could do. They're not proving anything. They're not trying to prove it to the person, really. They're just giving them a different perspective. Okay? They're not saying, I can prove to you everything's going to be okay. I can prove to you you're going to be fine. But they are giving that person, the analytical person or non-connectedness person, they're giving them the opportunity to think about things a little bit differently. And they're doing it without getting out of their connectedness strength. And that is the ultimate goal. We got to stay in our strengths. All right. I think that covers connectedness pretty well. Thank you so much for watching. And I look forward to seeing you again on my next video. And until then, remember, as always, inspiration starts here.